Hello and welcome to another edition of Tech Talk with me, Pranjal Sharma. Today I'm going to be in conversation with Shailendra Katyal. He is the MD of Lenovo India. Shailendra, thanks for taking time for this conversation.
Thanks for having the chat with me, Pranjal.
So it's very interesting, you are heading Lenovo and it has a long history in India. It is a hardware company, but I also see that it is now transitioning in some ways. So to begin with, can you give us a sense of, what is Lenovo today?
So interestingly, Pranjal, when you said that we've had a long history, in a lot of ways we are still a very young company, right? Yes, we've been in the country for the last 20 years, but every day feels like you're in a startup because of the number of pivots or the changes that we see within the company. And maybe rightfully so, because we are in the technology sector and disruption is a way of life for all of us. But coming back to your question on how Lenovo has grown, we got incorporated in the country around 20 years ago in 2005. And at that time, we came into the country with the acquisition of the IBM PC business, which was the legacy or the iconic ThinkPad brand. So inherited a fairly strong business, which was largely B2B. Over time, we expanded into other segments, whether it was retail, consumer, or SMB. And we grew really fast in the core area, which is what we are known for, the personal computing space. But over time, as the market was shifting, we also entered other screens. So we launched the tablet business, we got into the phone business, we acquired Motorola along the way. And then over the last 20 years of history, there was one pivotal moment where we said that if we really have to become a technology leader, we need to go beyond screen and also get into infrastructure. So that is we got the server business also from IBM. Again, around the 2015-16 kind of time frame. And at that time, the global strategy, which was being executed at a market level as well, was more about if the world is getting connected, there's infrastructure to run the internet, which is where the server business kind of fits in. And then you need a lot of compute or technology in people's hands, which is where the entire, I would say, internally we say the pocket to cloud strategy kind of emerged. That you're connecting the world not just at the end point, you're also connecting at the back end, because the world internet finally has to run on the infrastructure that we provide. So yeah, it's been I would say I've spent about 12 years with this company now. And every 3 to 4 years, as we look into the future, there's always a big thought on what else can we do.
And in a way, you are sort of reinventing yourself, because every few years, as you said, you're moving from screen to solutions. But let me unpack all that. Let's talk about the screens to begin with. And again, here from as you said, from pocket to laptop to the giant ones. And I think the history of Lenovo is also television screens, if I'm not wrong. In its origin form. Where do you see the transition from an India perspective? Motorola itself was a huge brand. Now it is something that is competing, and you're in a very competitive space. Whether we look at consumer products, for the moment, for the consumer products that you have, what are the key trends that you see in the market, both for personal devices and for the business solutions you have?
That's a great question, Pranjal. And when you speak about a market like India, which is still evolving, right, there's always this penetration argument that does everyone have access to technology? And that fits in quite well with our global vision. We say smarter technology for all, because as a global technology leader, we do believe it's our noble purpose to put technology in the hands of masses, not just in the hands of elite or in the hands of big companies. So there is that penetration story which keeps us excited in India. Yes, it is competitive. Everyone wants a piece of a growing pie. But one of our strengths is our engineering and our supply chain. We spend a lot of money on R&D, and we spend a lot of money on smartifying and diversifying our supply chain. So that allows us to have a very wide portfolio. So there's a market penetration story in a growing economy where digital penetration is still low. And that's true across our products, whether it is feature phone to smartphone conversion, or if you look at having a PC in every home. PC penetration, by the way, is very low in the country. Still, it's under 15%. And then, like all other categories, our category is also seeing a lot of premiumization. So when you look at the whole income stack, there's enough opportunity at the bottom of the pyramid, there's enough at the middle, and there's enough at the top. And our strength is being able to cater to all these different price bands with our different products and solutions. So we are very excited with the India opportunity, and we are doing quite well.
Shailendra, you came from a FMCG background. It's very interesting that the category you are in today, all the small screens to medium screens to tablets, and the range of consumers, from mothers to grandmothers to young school-going children, the screen phenomena is everywhere. It is almost a commodity. Nobody is there without a screen in their pocket. What kind of shifts do you see in consumer behavior? Of course, we've seen the mass become the middle class, and the middle class go to the premium segment. Do you see any unique trends in the way that the Indian consumer is behaving, especially in this category?
Yeah, so that's always a challenge for a global company like us when we look at the complexity of India, right? That it's huge in terms of the demographic addressability, but it also comes with its own set of challenges across the income pyramid, also then language, geography. There are many things that make the task of solving for technology access quite complex, and that is where some of the FMCG parallels help, right? Because FMCG is all about right product at the right time at the right place, right? And done at scale. I think technology is still going through that thing about being able to solve for it at scale, given the categories are not as penetrated as a household consumption item. Coming back to this thing about how is the Indian consumer different? Many people feel that the Indian customer is cheap. They're not. They're very value conscious. But whether you look at a rural customer or a middle income customer or a premium customer, the mindset to have better value and that thing about asking for a discount never changes. All of us do that all the time, right? Irrespective of income class. But every customer is aspirational. They don't want bad products. They don't want cheap products. They want.
How has this persuaded you to perhaps develop products which are unique for the Indian market? Because the Indian consumer wants high quality, but also high level of affordability. They want sophistication, but they also want it to be rugged.
Yeah, so the answer lies in our width of portfolio. So we have everything. If you talk about for our phones, we'll have a $200 product, a $150 product going up to $800 product. Similarly, in our PCs, we'll have a $300 product going up to a $2,000 product, which are our premium products like Yoga or Legion for the high-end gamer. Our ability to manage this complexity of products and being able to provide them through different routes to market. We are big on e-tail. We have great relationships with all the large format retailers. I have 550 of my own exclusive stores, and obviously then I have the traditional mom and pop distribution. Managing this complexity is a strength, that you have 200 odd products and you have to fill in 3 or 4 pipes by which you are able to give access to customers to our devices. But to the point that I made earlier, Lenovo is known for the engineering and ability to manage this complexity, because it's also back-end complexity at a supply chain level, right? In terms of so many SKUs being put in the market at the same time.
Which brings me to the question of affordability. A key element in affordability is local manufacturing. So has that made a difference to making sure that your presence in the market is even deeper?
Of course it has, and it's not just about affordability, it's also about time to market, right? So your local supply chain does give you advantage that if you're deeply embedded in the local ecosystem. Just as an example, Motorola, when we acquired from the previous parent, which was Google, it was struggling, no money in innovation, a lot of inherently bad costs. So we took some time to take those costs out, and then we started innovating and putting money back into the branding and the go-to-market side of it. So we've done that quite well, I would say, and the reason for that is because we've also 100% localized on manufacturing. So all Motorola phones, 100% of the Motorola phones which get sold in the country are made locally, and we also export from India, which also gives an additional scale, right? That you become a little more cost competitive if you are spreading your manufacturing across many markets, not just one. And yeah, India is now so big for us that a lot of flagship launches. We are the first company to do a flagship phone launch out of India, which is the Moto Edge series. It's not a low-end phone; it's the mid-end kind of a product. The global launch happened out of New Delhi, because 50% of that phone revenues of that series can now come from India.
And it's fascinating because you have actually 2 huge global brands, Moto as well as Lenovo. From a purely positioning perspective, how do you marry the two? I mean, do the consumers recognize the connection between them, and do they see that it's from a same parent with strong engineering and technology backing?
It's very interesting. Actually, we call ourselves now a house of brands because on the consumer side, we do have Moto and we have Lenovo in some form factors, but we have ThinkPad, we have Yoga, we have Legion. So, our ability to build brands for specific cohorts and ability to then manage the complexity. It's not just Lenovo across. There are a lot of ThinkPad fans, right? So, we would not force fit that it is from Lenovo and hence you buy. So, it is ThinkPad from Lenovo it's from the house of Lenovo is the credibility that comes through. So it's almost like a marketing case study that there is a parent brand called Lenovo. Then for different cohorts, you've created very successful iconic brands. Some are bought out, which is the Motorola and the ThinkPad. But Legion is one of the most successful gaming brands. It's completely homegrown, very young, less than 5 years old. Yoga is one of the most premium and the most recognized lifestyle technology brand. Again, completely homegrown. It's just about 10 years old since we launched the first yoga brand.
You refer to local manufacturing, which, as you said, is the key, and it's across the range of these products. What kind of tech innovation is happening with Lenovo and Moto in India, which is perhaps going to be which has helped you expand, and you see that as an investment for the future as well?
Yeah, so India has become a very important hub, but it's not the only hub for us to innovate given our width of solutions that we have. But yeah, Bangalore is on the map now. For us as a company, it's one of the great innovation hotspots that we built. We have similar ones in Beijing, we have similar ones in Shanghai, we have one in Japan, we have one in the US, one in Europe. So if we have 6 or 7 R&D centers, then Bangalore has become one of the more important ones.
Are there any examples, Shailendra, of very interesting innovation which happened in India, in the Bangalore center, which has helped you, of course, in the Indian market, but perhaps other ways as well?
Yeah, so a lot of the success that Motorola is seeing, and India is one of the growing markets, but overall Motorola is now one of the fastest growing phone brands across. All the UX work and very interesting features. We have something called a suite of ready now features, right? Every time you don't need to unlock the phone and then get into 3 clicks down to get to the feature or the application. Like the torch, if you shake the phone, the torch comes on, and it's a very useful feature, right?
So that was developed here.
It's all developed. All the Android engineering work that we do on Motorola happens out.
So you literally shook up the market with the shaking up,
and we lit up the world with the torch as well. Yeah. So that's one. And yeah, now on the server side, we've just announced a state-of-the-art tech lab. So a lot of GPU-based work, which is what the world is interested in now in AI development. That work is starting to happen out of our Bangalore hub.
So that's the other point about the servers. That's also something which I think globally is a big push for Lenovo. How much of the global growth for Lenovo and from India will be now driven by the interest into GPU-based servers?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and none of us have a crystal ball in terms of how this thing will evolve. But everyone in technology believes that it's a seminal moment. It's like the birth of the internet. When the world got connected, could someone have predicted that a Google will emerge, or Amazon will emerge, or a Facebook will emerge? Nobody could have said that. Right now, the way we see our role, that one is the AI infrastructure, right? A lot of GPU is required to run the heavy language models, the LLMs, right? But our view of the world is LLMs are not the end of the story. So we'll help build the infrastructure. A lot of servers are going into that space. Then comes we call it the hybrid AI, right? So there's a cloud AI and then there's the enterprise AI. Like if you work for a large company, you don't want to run AI on your data in the cloud. So there's infrastructure required for that. Maybe it is an enterprise level language model or a SLM. And then there is your own AI. That whatever data you have on your device, whether it's a phone or a PC, would you want to run it on the cloud? Your entire financial information, all the photographs that you have.
And with the 5G and 6G, you'll have edge AI happening on the device itself.
Yeah, so we are building the entire stack of the portfolio, but it's just about the infrastructure, right? You're giving hardware or compute power either to a company or to an individual to run AI. Real magic will happen with the real applications, right? What are the use cases? And there we've created a $200 million fund where we are working with about 150 ISVs. We are helping them, the developers, build the use cases and the applications. So one is our role in the ecosystem, helping build the applications. The other is obviously when you need AI compute, everything will come from our stable, whether it is a AI phone or a AI PC or a.
And your Puducherry facility for servers is not just for India. It is for all your markets. How is that going to play out?
So, like I said, we pride ourselves on a diversified supply chain. So, our ability to work across our own plants or through a contract manufacturer, we are able to navigate both. In India, we'll have a footprint of, we have our Pondicherry plant which makes PCs. It will also start making servers. Dixon was our EMS partner for phones. We are giving them some capability to make our PCs and tablets as well. Because the market is growing, we are also leveraging India for exports. So, our ability to then have 2 or 3 parts of the supply chain, not just centralized in our own plant, but leveraging the larger ecosystem growth, which is also the government's charter at a level, right? How are you helping the ecosystem grow? So, we are quite deep in that space in terms of building the entire fabric for India and India for the world.
What could be the business model, Shailendra? Because there is a lot of discussion that server as a service, right? So there are new models of business coming across even for hardware. So hardware is no longer a product that you buy; it's a service that you buy. It will also have an impact in Lenovo's growth strategy, not just for India but globally as well. Do you see a deep shift happening in the business models around the hardware and the solutions that you're creating?
That's a great question, Pranjal, again, and maybe this is one of the last categories where the subscription model or this pay-as-you-go model is coming through. Historically, it's been capex forward, right? That you invest in a device and then you live with that for the next 5
And then you live off the AMC, right?
Yeah, we are not letting out all secrets out of the bag in this conversation, but yeah, the long-term service relationship does help build the stickiness with the customer. And I'll answer that from a very different angle. With the pressure on the planet and sustainability, and our category unfortunately is one of the biggest contributors to landfills and to e-waste, right? There is pressure on the planet because of us, especially now with GPU etc. coming in. Then there's energy consumption which will also go through the roof. So we are telling people that if you buy it as a service, you buy only what you need. Then there's no spare capacity that you've invested in something, but guess what? You're not using the compute half of the time. Adoption has picked up with a lot of global customers. We are seeing traction come through in terms of the enterprise customers as well. Industry says that it will go up to maybe 50% over time. Right now it's under 10%, but a lot of people have shifted to buying even PCs as a service, not just the server side. If you look at even consumer relationships, right? If you're buying now and paying over 9 months or 12 months on EMI, in a way it's a deferred or a subscription model. Can we then launch a retail-based model, which is I give you the product, I manage it over time, and when you are ready to dispose, I buy it back from you. And again, coming from the sustainability angle, parts of the puzzles are coming in. Like every platform now has a product exchange thing, right? May not be the brand doing it, but there you want to give your asset back so that you don't contribute to landfills. So it's a great question on how will the nature of the relationship evolve between hardware and the end customer, whether retail or companies. I think we are seeing the first signs that it can actually become a consumption-based or a service-based model.
So from a consumer product portfolio to server-based enterprise portfolio, what I can imagine is that the growth would come from all the this huge boom in data centers in India, as the policy and regulatory environment enforces data localization. You need more and more storage space and compute space. Then of course GCCs are something that are growing as well. But in your assessment, where do you see? Do you see for your servers? Do you see a large market in India? Is that going to be an important part of the overall global strategy?
It obviously is, and some part is driven by data sovereignty or data protection kind of things, which are good in a way because it makes everything more transparent. But also India emerging as a hub for energy efficient hosting. Finally, there is cost of electricity, there's cost of land. Data center is like a utilities business, right? It is very intensive at that level. So India is becoming a viable destination. Right now, we are not even hosting our own data. India has 20% of the world data or 3% of the data center capacity. So there's 7x headroom just on that. And then if you start hosting data or offering GPU-based services for the world, It will go through an exponential growth. We do sense that. And yeah, can we do it in the most efficient way, both as a country and as a company? Because the pressure on the planet is very, very real. So we've got one of the most innovative solutions called Neptune cooling, which reduces energy cost. It's water-based cooling.
Decarbonization is the key issue
Yeah,
here.
and there I think India will find a frugal way of doing it, because we are also energy deficient as a country. If we want to become the data center capital of the world, we'll have to find alternate ways of energy and as well as more sustainable ways of running a data center versus the current.
It seems to me that Lenovo is completely committed to this.
Absolutely. Globally, we are committed, and also when we look at both India as a market as well as a hub for both building our solutions and delivering our solutions, not just for India but for the world. So we were less than $500 million when I joined the company. This year we'll cross 3. So that's like 6x in 10, 12 years, right? So it is the pace of a startup kind of growth. Globally, when I joined the company, we were less than 20 billion, not in Fortune 500. Last 3-year average is above 60. So again, globally also we've grown 3x. In India, we've grown 5-6x. And we still believe it's day one. We're just getting.
As you were saying earlier, that in terms of the compute power and the penetration of what I think it should be called is digital infrastructure, because to my mind, a device in the hand of every citizen and consumer, and stronger and better compute power for every enterprise, and not just large enterprises, for SMEs as well, is in a way it's a national movement, because unless you empower everybody with compute power, I don't think we can manage the growth that we want.
So again, a great question, and all of us, Pranjal, have been living through this digital India story, right? And when you're living through the journey, you don't realize the impact. You realize the impact when you travel abroad and you can't make a quick digital payment, right? You still need to fish out your card. So a lot that we take for granted, but I do give a lot of credit to the Indian government for the vision that it had on building the digital identity on Aadhaar and then building the entire India stack. There's a lot more that can be done on that stack, right? Which is a new story and I'll come to the compute power in the hands of the masses in a bit. But just on the foundation which has got laid, there's just so much that you can now deliver, whether it is healthcare or whether it is financial inclusion. We're still underpenetrated on a lot of that topic. The foundation is there, but the real delivery is yet to be seen. Coming to this power of compute in people, that's my pet topic, right? And that's the holy grail that we've been searching for as an industry. Internet penetration now is world class, data cost is the lowest, and everyone has a phone in their hands. But look at what happened during COVID. If there's no physical class, you had a huge learning loss, right? Because nobody has a computer in their homes. And phones are great for consumption, they're not good for learning and creation. So that remains a problem to be solved. It's a problem too large to be solved by one company or even the industry. It requires public-private kind of I use that word, right? Almost missionary approach to make India truly digital. We have demographic dividend. 25 crore students at any given point of time. Only 10% of them have access to a computer, either at their home or at the school. So what are they getting trained on is the question. And again, the government has been visionary in terms of rolling out the new education policy, a lot of focus on skilling, useful learning versus something that we learned and then never used later in our lives. I think we are deeply embedded in that ecosystem because we are giving skill-based job in manufacturing, we have R&D labs getting set up, we have solution labs getting set up. So happy to participate in that growth story as a company, but a lot to be done on making India truly digital at a grassroots level.
Shailendra, you mentioned that 20 years and very fascinating, eventful years for Lenovo in India. Next few years, 5 to 10 years, where do you want to see Lenovo? You've talked about consumer products, we've talked about enterprise, we've talked about AI-based solutions. Where would you like Lenovo to be, or where do you hope that Lenovo will be in the next 10 years?
A great question again, Pranjal, and it's always risky to talk with a crystal ball. But if I say from a desire point of view, right, if I take these two things about AI changing the world and India taking center stage, if we are able to play a meaningful role in India taking center stage in the entire AI revolution that the world is likely to see, not just in terms of selling more AI-powered devices, but more about the fundamental of great solutions coming out of India, which are also then applicable for the rest of the world. And it goes then You need the right R&D, you need the right manufacturing, you need the right mindset to crack things at a frugal innovation level. But that would be, I think, a noble thing for Lenovo to pursue and stand up and be counted in making India truly digital and powering not just for India but for the rest of the world as well.
But I'll stick on the AI part which you mentioned, because I think your leadership team has also talked about AI plus and plus AI. You know how AI is going to be deeply embedded in everything that you do, but as an enabler, not just as a tool. Is that going to be something that you see playing out in India in a more accelerated way?
Absolutely, Pranjal, and tell you why I say that, because AI is not just about making better reels or summarizing your meetings, right? We talk about technology solving for humanity's greatest challenges. Right now, there was a limitation on what you could achieve with technology because the compute power was also reaching a certain set of limitations, right? If you have to do genome sequencing at the pace at which is required to solve for healthcare problems, it was just not there. With AI, we do see a lot of that now coming through, and yeah, if you are able to solve for the largest demographic population with the maximum complexity, maximum diversity at affordable price, that we truly believe will be magical.
Thanks, Shailendra, and congratulations for 20 years and wishing you the best for the next 20.
Thanks, Pranjal. Happy chatting with you.